scroll nicht, und wenn das Herz auch bricht, ewig verlorenes Lied.
Next key phrase, and I'm giving you these. We'll actually have these all on the website of all a summary of all the basic training, because the key is a person will go through all the basic training at level 1, make sure they have it, and then in order to upgrade to level 2, which we will be announcing soon in terms of all the additional benefits at level 2, there's more payouts, more money, and so forth. So all these points that I'm writing down are also going to be listed on the website as well as kind of a summation. The next key is this phrase here, which we hear a lot, but I want to define it. Success is a decision away. Success is a decision away. And it's a good phrase to remember and use, but you have to understand what it really means. Success is one decision away. That's how everything changes when a decision is made. And let me define what a decision is. Decision is when you actually clearly know what you don't want, and you turn your back to what you don't want, and now you clearly know and have defined what you do want, and you focus all your attention on that. That's a decision. And that happened for me when I was told I was a loser in front of my classmates. And I said, "You're going to eat them words." And all my focus was on creating a life that would make this guy eat his words. That's where the focus was. I no longer looked at anything else. Success is a decision away, because when you make that decision, and the decision is turning your back on what you don't want and focusing only on what you do want, that's the moment that success will start coming in. That's the moment the things off the radar screen start coming into the radar screen. Most people spend most of their time focusing on what they don't want. When I talk to people, most people always are excited to share with me their story of woe, about how things haven't worked for them. They tell their story. And many people have rehearsed this story very, very well. It's funny, it's amusing. You know, they get the whole story down where it's like at a party. Oh, let me tell you what happened. You know, let me tell you about my divorce. Let me tell you about this disaster at work. Let me tell you about my idiots. And they get the story and you're listening and it's amusing. It's amusing. It's fascinating and it's funny and it's enjoyable to listen to. But for them, it's creating more of it. Because every time they tell the story, they're reliving the experience of what they didn't want. And they're transmitting that vibration and creating more of it. The trick to life is retelling the story, not avoiding or blocking out things that you didn't like. That's not what we're talking about here. This is an art. It's really reframing it and putting it in a different perspective. Every single situation that happened can be looked at as a negative or as the opportunity for a positive. Every single one. This is the hard part. And I have to say that because this is the habit that has to be broken. This is the real willingness to accept change. And it is a habit. It is a habit. When you do it consciously, competently, over and over again, it'll be a struggle to do it because you're automatically pulled back to that old habit of using words and phrases. And these words and phrases mean you're focusing on pictures and images and vibrating things you don't want. So the real habit is being able to take every situation and immediately turn it to your advantage. You're not discounting what happened. But you're using that to clarify what you don't want, and more importantly, to clarify what you do want so that you can turn away from it and now focus clearly on what you want. That's the key. That's why success is a decision away. When that decision is made, all it means is you've turned your back on what you don't want, and now you're only talking about, you're only focusing on, you're only thinking about, you're only vibrating on what you do want. So you ask somebody, for example, hey man, how are things going with you? Oh, terrible. You wouldn't believe it. Let me tell you what happened. A house flooded. My wife and I got into this big fight. I'm not even staying at the house now, but there's enough mold in there anyways. Good for her. She's probably going to get violently sick with all the toxic mold. I'm glad I'm not there. And then I had this big problem at the office. I mean, this is how conversations go. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Now, let's assume that these events happened. Flood in the house. There's toxic mold. He got into a fight with his wife. He's no longer living there. And there's big dramas and challenges at work. Now, if you ask a guy, how are things going with you? If he's vibrating correctly, he can say, I have some very interesting experiences that are going on right now. A lot of people would probably say they're not very positive. Right now, I am in the process of looking for all of the opportunities in my current situation. And I know, although I can't tell you how, but I know everything's going to be fine and everything's going to get better. Really. Yeah, I've always been thinking about a new job, and my situation at work right now is really making me focus on new opportunities in my work and my career. And actually, I'm really glad of what's happening at my office because it's really giving me that motivation to change careers and doing something I really, really love to do. Well, that sounds good. Yeah. See how I changed that whole thing? It's the same situation, but the person is now moved. He didn't move from it's a disaster to life is bliss, but he moved from it's a disaster to here. See, I got to